Right, guys, so just before we jump into the videos on energy balance, videos on nutrition, the videos on training, I want to cover this because this is going to be essential throughout your entire training program, your entire 30-day challenge. And that's weigh-ins, monitoring, and looking at how this fat loss journey is going for you, and how and when to change it. So, long term, we are going to need changes in the program, and the way that we work out when these changes come is through monitoring your training, monitoring your nutrition, and obviously monitoring your progress. So with regards to fat loss, monitoring is absolutely key. Our body's often trying to stay where it is. It doesn't necessarily want to change, regardless of how much you think that we want it to change. So we need some validation, some justification, and some information that this plan is actually working and that we don't need to do anything different, because sometimes we'll start a plan and it's just not quite perfect. So making sure that we are monitoring regularly is key. And this tells us when we need to mix it up. So monitoring for fat loss. What we think of as structured monitoring is things like weigh-ins, measurements, photos, and how your clothes fit. Now, these monitoring processes are absolutely essential, and they're almost the mini tests that we do to check that we are on track and to build a portfolio of information. Now, what's really just as important are these daily practices that allow us to actually make an informed decision based on that. Things like nutrition tracking, nutrition targets, daily wins, what we're doing well, how well we've stuck to the training program, and how's our sleep and recovery. Again, it's all pulling back into that key five that we've spoke about. But let's think about this logically. If our weight goes up a little bit and we've no idea what we've done from a nutrition point of view and no idea what we've done from a training point of view, then it's going to be difficult to set that program that's written down on the app that you've got, or on a piece of paper, whatever it is that you're doing. Again, you guys should be using the app, but we'll talk about that in the next video. It's going to be difficult to make a decision and say, this plan's not working, because all we know is that the results haven't gone the direction that we want, but we don't know if you've stuck to the plan. We don't know if there's been mistakes with the plan. So changing the plan in that instance wouldn't be the first thing that would go to. It wouldn't be this plan doesn't work. It'd be, I need to make sure that I'm on that plan. So hopefully this makes a little bit of sense and is framing this entire video for you. So weigh-ins can be absolutely essential. They are so useful when it comes to fat loss. However, water retention has a massive impact. Things like monthly cycles for women has a massive impact in terms of how much water we store. Food, meal timings, digestion all have a big impact. Hydration has a big impact. And obviously, weighing doesn't tell you whether you've lost body fat, lean mass, water, or gained body fat, lean mass, or water. So this is where the issues can come about, because weight can easily fluctuate up and down by a kilo each way over a day. So this means that there are certain things that we need to do. Now, one of the key things that we need to do when it comes to weigh-ins is be consistent with the times that we weigh. If we can weigh in the morning, I'd say ideally, at least 3 times a week, and just have the same routine. Get up, go to the loo, get a glass of water, then jump on the scales. Don't do anything else, and make sure that that's consistent. If we're doing that consistently, then we are going to have a much more accurate weigh-in than one day weighing in the morning, then later in the week weighing after your lunch, and then later in the week weighing after your evening meal. That's going to be difficult to see what's going on. If everything's consistent, we get a much better picture of what's actually happening from a weight point of view. But again, weight's not usually enough, which is where this one comes in. Measurements. Generally really accurate measurements, as long as you have a good idea on how to take them. Now again, on the app, there's a section to enter your weight and a section to enter your measurements. And it tells you where to take them. What I'd say is try to at least include a waist and hip measurement at least once a week. Now this, going alongside weight loss, will show a really useful amount of information in terms of what's going to be the best approach to take. Do we need to change something? Is the plan working? Because if your measurements are all going the right way, but the weight loss isn't necessarily there yet, it might be a case of we just stick with it, give it another few days, keep consistent with the weigh-ins and see what happens. If the weight and measurements are both looking wrong, that could be water retention, but it could also be the first warning sign that something needs to change in whether it's the plan or the adherence to the plan. Now, photos, really useful for people with aesthetic goals. So if you're wanting a body transformation, photos are obviously going to be key, but timing, angles, lighting, it's going to really skew that sometimes. Now, if it's more of a general weight loss program, the fit of clothes is actually a really good indicator on how you're getting on. So pay attention to this. If that's going to be something that, feeling better in your clothes is one of your goals, pay attention to how you're actually feeling in your clothes. Jot it down, make notes of it. Make sure that you know what size pants are fitting and so on. That's going to be a good indicator as to whether we're on track long-term throughout the program. So an overview of this is that combine these methods of monitoring the weigh-ins, the measurements, the photos or the fit of clothes gives a really good idea of what's going on. But before we change anything, we need the information on what we've been doing. We need the daily practices to be monitored. We need to know how we're doing with the nutrition plan. Are we sticking to it? How are we doing with the training plan? Are we sticking to that? What are we doing in terms of sleep, stress, recovery? Are we on top of all of that? So, to allow us to have a good idea as to whether the plan needs changing or whether we just need to build on adherence, we need to be celebrating these daily successes, the small daily activities that allow us to build a big picture of what's going on and tell us whether, what the issue is. Things like tracking food, things like tracking training sessions, things like monitoring your sleep, and putting aside time for food prep for organizing your week. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say that someone is planned to train 3 times a week, 15,000 steps. We'd say that they're aiming for 8 hours sleep a night and are consuming 2,200 calories a day. Now, this person does a weigh-in and it doesn't show weight loss. In the past, if this was you, you may have gone, that plan doesn't work. Now, what we're trying to say is that, okay, if that's not showing weight loss, it could be an issue with the weight in terms of weight fluctuations. But actually, if we look a little bit deeper and see that only 2 of the 3 sessions that are planned have been done, we've been moving less in the day, and we don't know where your calories are, then it's not an issue with the plan. What the goal is to increase adherence and work out whether it's an issue with the plan or work out whether it's just that we need to be sticking to these targets. So now when it comes to the exact same target but a slightly different result, this person might have had the same program and lost a pound, but the records are showing that the adherence is really good. In that case, it may be a little bit slower than we'd expect the weight loss, so we might shuffle things around. We might drop the calories a little bit, add a little bit of cardio, and then obviously we'd expect to be on track from there. So guys, I just wanted to make sure that you understood this video in terms of weighing and why these daily practices like tracking food, tracking exercise are really important and are going to massively help you on this journey. Guys, I will see you in the next video.